our new TIC Performance 1700 horsepower intercooler. As you guys can see right here, we got the golden ticket. How to run this regulator in this mount with the stock style steam port. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So today we are back on the Z28 Camaro. Last week that you saw us do the recovery tank and our steam port vent, and I mentioned that we were waiting on our fuel pump to come in. It finally came in, and we've got all the stuff we need to do minus the intake manifold to complete the fuel system. So I'll go ahead and show you guys what we got. Well, here it is, you guys. Here's all the stuff that we're going to be using on our fuel system on the Z28. Starting with the Aeromotive 5 gallon per minute brushless spur gear pump. So this is the variable unit. This is the 11196 fuel pump. So that's the variable speed fuel pump, meaning that we don't have to run this thing at 100% all the time. We can wire it into the TPS sensor and kind of use it as needed, which is pretty nice. So we also got the mounting kit, which are these little rubber isolators, and then we went ahead and whipped this plate up. I'll go ahead and show you guys on the car what that looks like here in a second. So starting, we have our post filter. This is our 10 micron micro glass post filter for the for E85 and methanol, I think. And then also this is our pre-filter, big guy, the -12 on both sides. And this is the 100 micron pre-filter. Moving on, we have our Aeromotive fuel regulator, which is part number 13134. So I've already got the fittings in here. We also have the motion mount, so it'll mount to the front timing cover. And actually, I'll have to show you guys this in a second, how to run this regulator in this mount with the stock style steam port. So right now, if you go in there, it won't fit because it's hitting. So we figured a way how to adapt it, and it's gonna look just the same. It's actually, gonna work, so it's pretty nice. And moving on, we have our flex fuel sensor, or flex fuel sensor mount, I should say, from Motion Raceworks. Here's our GM AC Delco sensor. And then this is the kit from Motion for the fuel regulator to the fuel rails. So unfortunately, that's the only thing we don't have is the fuel rails and the intake manifold, which we should be cutting pretty soon. So TIC Performance, they've just been swamped with orders, I believe. So hopefully we'll get that within the next few weeks. And that means our fuel system will be 100% complete minus fuel injectors. So for mounting our pump, like I said, we're using the mounting kit from Aeromotive for these pumps. So we just got a nice piece of aluminum, nice pretty thick piece of aluminum, drilled some holes in it for the mount. And then as you can see, it's got a nice standoff, and also these little rubber isolators will help with vibrations and noise and stuff like that. So I'll go ahead and show you guys what this looks like on the car and how it's gonna work. All right, so this is our nice simple mount for the pump. We're just utilizing 2 of the bolt holes that are already there for the water box and the fuel cell. So it's just kind of up there with a few bolts right now, but kind of get the idea of how it's going to look. So we'll have the pump, and then obviously the post filter will be on this side, pre-filter, and then we'll have our little Y fitting here. And then we'll have, this is just one line right now, we'll have 2 lines coming out here into the Y fitting, which will 90-degree into the filter, into the pump, and then out the other filter, and then we're gonna 180 it back and follow along the passenger side of the car. First impressions, this thing's quite large, but we also kind of wanted to keep everything nice and tucked and kind of in one piece. That way we don't have a bunch of, you know, filters sporadically throughout the car. So I think this is going to work pretty well. So we have our Y fitting. So we're going to feed it with 2 -10s because our fuel cell has the sump for 2 -10s. So we're going to do 2 -10s into a 12 Y fitting, and then into our 100 micron filter into our pump, out of our 10 micron filter, and then 180 it back along here, and then chase it up to the front like I was saying earlier. So I think it's coming out pretty good. It's nice and straight, everything looks good on it. So yeah, I don't see why this shouldn't work. I mean, everything's loose, but I mean, it's gonna have a little wiggle, but hopefully these mounts work pretty well. Yeah, I think it's coming out pretty good. What do you guys think? Think it's a good execution? I don't know. Let us know. Comment down below. Well, that's good. Alright guys, so now I'm going to go ahead and show you how you're going to be able to use this regulator in the Motion Raceworks mount with the stock style 4-port steam kit. Now, first thing you're going to need to do is get longer timing cover bolts. These were too long, I just had to cut them down a little bit. And then also you need a little bit of a spacer, maybe a little bit less than ½ inch. And the second thing is you're going to need smaller hardware. So the head of this bolt that came with the aeromotive regulator would replace these two right here. So we went out and got these little shorter guys. So these were actually hitting the steam tube itself with these bolts installed. So we got shorter bolts that don't hit the steam tube, and you need longer bolts for the timing cover with a spacer. So now I'm gonna go ahead and throw this on the engine, and I'm gonna show you guys how it's gonna look. Alright guys, so here it is. So you put the spacer behind the bracket, and then you put your longer bolts in there. And then yeah, so you can see it's a little close. Actually, I think it's touching on this side. Yeah, it's touching on this side, but these bolts aren't tight yet, so they're still not all the way in. But either way, this is how you're going to use this bracket in the regulator with this style steam port. So I mean, you can go ahead and get the Motion one, but we didn't need it because we have this one. So you know, why spend money when you don't have to? Especially when you're building an expensive race car. So yeah, so we just kind of thought outside the box a little bit and got this whipped up, and it's gonna work. All right guys, so you just saw us finish up the fuel system as far as we can go for the time being. So we got a return made and all cut up and up to size right there on our aeromotive fuel regulator. And we also just got our strange master cylinder mounted up. We haven't figured out the pedal ratio just yet. That's on the list of things to do, but we're really excited to show you guys some things that we've been waiting on for a while. And as you can see right here, that's nice big old box from TIC Performance. We got some wiring, we got a starter from AC Delco, we got some new bolts for that, we got our Taylor aluminum battery box, which is pretty sweet, and then we got this badass NPI steering wheel from Motion Raceworks, and we'll go into that here in a second. So let's start over here and go ahead and show you what we've been waiting on for a while now. And we've kind of hinted that we were getting this, but never really told you guys. But here it is, finally in our hands, our new TIC Performance 1700 horsepower intercooler. Now, this is the updated version, and this is their most recent, I guess, update. So as you can see, the core size is actually 15% bigger than their older style. So if you look at a picture, the core size itself is much smaller. So that's pretty cool. That, I mean, we didn't even know that was going to happen until they told us about it. So it's really sweet that we got a nice new upgraded version of the same product that they've been selling. So now, once we get our intake manifold, we can go ahead and throw this guy on the car and complete the cold side. So I'm gonna put this down before I drop it. moving on. We have some nice Torben, what does this say? Made in the USA, 4-gauge. These are actually welding cable wires. So we're going to be using these as our power and ground for our charging system and our electronics. So moving on, we got our AC Delco starter. This is a Corvette starter, nothing fancy, just a run-of-the-mill starter. So on that little 5.3 should be fine. We got our Taylor aluminum battery box. This is the 200 series, so it's the mid-frame size. So it's basically meant for a red top or that style battery, that group of batteries. So this is a pretty cool box. Kind of just dug into it for a little bit. So it mounts to the car, which is pretty nice. And you know why we buy parts? We get stickers. Now, moving on to the really exciting thing, right? So we got this pretty sweet new Motion alternator overdrive pulley. Now this is a 3-inch pulley, so we don't overdrive our alternator and burn it out really quick. And as you guys can see right here, we got the golden ticket. So that was pretty badass when the UPS guy dropped off a big old box for this little pulley. And this is what we got. So we got the Cletus Edition MPI Drift steering wheel. It's a 6-bolt. Unfortunately, it's not going to work on the Camaro, so it's kind of a bummer, but maybe we'll figure something out. But either way, super badass thing to get in the mail. So thank you, Motion, for doing the giveaway. And thank you, Cletus, for coming up with the design. So as you can see, guys, we are going to be pretty busy within the next month or two. So we're getting these parts in order to actually get the car running. Not driving, but running. So we're going to get this engine running. We're going to get everything basically to make it run, like I just said. So we got our wiring. We got our battery box. Not necessary, but might as well get it. Oh, I forgot to mention we do have one more thing. And that is our Applied Racing Technology cutoff switch or kill switch, right? So comes with other cool stuff. They got a nice billet little handle, and then here's their little rod. So super nice product of theirs. So that'll be our main kill switch for the car. Like I said, we got our wiring going, and the next thing we're going to be doing is actually getting our Dominator ECU wiring harness, our sensors, our MAC valves, all that good stuff to get this thing making some noise. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for today's episode. As you can see, we're getting some pretty serious parts for the Camaro finally. It's really nice. It's kind of a sigh of relief. Starting to kind of finally dig into the systems that we need to get this thing finally running and making some noise. So like always, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for subscribing. We'll see you in the next episode.